You know, I've written my script about Star Wars show. What's it called? I basically even forgot what the name is at this point. That's how forgettable it was. Um, the show Acolyte, which, honestly, everybody has already heard about. And I was going to write about it, and I might still, but I've at this point written about it like six, seven times. Um, Originally, it was going to be kind of like the Avatar video, where I kind of like thought about doing it episode by episode, but then I threw that away and then did it another way, and then I looked at what other people are saying, then rewrote it again, and honestly, I just can't wrap my head around it. It's just, does the show have its fault? Of course it does. Are the actors to blame? Not really. Honestly, there's some cringy interviews, some actors do. As with, a lot of shows these days, you've seen the um, interviews for, what was it, Snow White, and all kinds of interviews for all of these other shows. Was it, the interview for Halo, the guys were like, we decided to use people who've never even encountered the Halo universe and decided they were the right people to write a show about a thing that takes place in the Halo universe. You know, we can go back and forth talking about how much of a great idea that was. Um, but the thing I want to discuss, to be honest, at this point, isn't even the show. Enough people have talked about it. I've written about it multiple times and I've thrown it away. I don't think I can just talk about it anymore at this point. I've written so many things and scrapped it. So that's what brings me to where we are now. Because you see, I had this kind of like a epiphany a few nights ago, and I've been kind of like workshopping this idea that I've had in my head for a while now, and I thought that this might be a little bit more of a productive way to kind of discuss not just the acolyte, but just kind of like a lot of modern media in general, right? Because if you think about it, it goes. There's things that are way beyond just the acolyte when it comes to this sort of discussion. You can look at, what is it, the Snow White show, right? You can look at the Minecraft movie. A lot of people are saying that, oh, the only reason you think the acolyte is bad is because you hate black women. And that's the same reason why everybody hates the Minecraft trailer. The first time I watched the Minecraft trailer, I was like, oh, good, everybody hates this trailer because look how bad it looks. Also, this is nothing like um, Minecraft. And, Jack Black, his name is Black, but he's a pretty white dude, But people are like, no, there's a single black girl in there. So criticizing the Minecraft trailer is racist towards, women of color. And it's just, it boggles my mind a little bit sometimes. But I'm not necessarily here to kind of like make the same kind of arguments a lot of those kinds of like incels and those kinds of people make online. In fact, the thing that kind of inspired me to make this video is more a criticism of them. I'm sure a lot of you guys may have heard of this creator named Critical Drinker. He gets drunk and he just, says the kind of things a regular uncle would say when he's drunk. Um, I'm gonna talk about a video that I think probably encapsulates some of his more interesting personalities in the future, maybe like in a day or two from now, and kind of like what the lead up to that is, like as you go further down the pipeline, you can see the kind of people that are kind of like inspired by him. And it's not just the men, it's the women and children too. Um, no joking, by the way. There's a lot of kids that look up to him, and there's while looking through the videos, I can even show you some of the videos I've seen about the Acolyte.
I do genuinely feel sorry for Amanda. She's clearly in a bit of an echo chamber, and that experience has created a bit of a monster who seems to hate half her own genetics. As a mixed race person who's dealt with her own identity struggles, I can empathise. However, if you're half white, you can't be racist to white people and only identify as a black person. It's like you're punching yourself in the face with one arm and patting yourself on the back with the other.
There's this girl who considers herself to be the female version of Critical Drinker, and I'm like, girl, do you even know? But again, I'm not here to criticize him or the kind of people that follow him. Obviously, there's people that follow me that well, not right now. Obviously, I only have like one subscriber, but I think at this point I should probably just go right into the topic of what exactly brought me into this situation. So as I said earlier, I've seen a lot of videos about the Acolyte, right? A lot of right-wing perspectives, a lot of left-wing perspectives, a lot of more neutral ones. You can't just say everybody who's not the biggest diehard fan of the Acolyte is, some basement dwelling dweeb, because, like, Critical isn't exactly a fan of it either, and I can show you. I might edit it in post and put it up here. A lot of actually well-acclaimed critics that aren't exactly fans of it either. So we can't always just defend any show because of one of the actors having certain attributes that makes them marginalized, and have the entire show not be able to be criticized on the defense of that single person. You need to kind of separate the art from the artist at some point and say, listen, you're a good actor, and she is the person who played the character in the show. I forgot her name too at this point. I kind of watched it once, like a few months ago now. At this point, I forgot when it even aired. But none of that's important, obviously. But no, she did a good job acting. It's just the show's writing is obviously awful, right? And you might be thinking, okay, if you don't like it, don't watch it, right? And that's kind of one of the problems you always see with a lot of these shows. Okay, nobody did watch it, and then it tanked, And no, I did actually want to watch it, and honestly, it's not as bad as people made it out to be. Obviously, there is some worse shows out there made by Disney Star Wars these days. As there are some pretty good ones too, right? Everybody says Andor's good. I loved Andor. Mandalorian's pretty good. Everybody says Book of Boba Fett is bad. The group of people on Vespas on a desert planet, but they're dressed up like city folk, a bunch of hippies. It doesn't make any sense. No, I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time. See, I even have this shirt, which, as you can tell, it's not exactly the prequels, right? I'm not gonna say like the only good Star Wars were the prequels or the original series, and the Disney Star Wars is all bad and it's not real Star Wars. A lot of people can be elitist in pretty much any kind of industry, whether it's games or cars or movies. It's honestly not very productive. I actually kind of like was trying to make this video earlier, but I ended up ranting a little too much. If it wasn't obvious, I'm kind of ranting a little too much in this video too. But I made a video before the Actman did a review of this giant list of games that are woke and not woke, and it's kind of like a very arbitrary list that's not even very accurate. A lot of games it says is not woke, but if you actually look at the deeper messaging, can be. And then there's games that it says it is when it really isn't, and it's just kind of like saying it is because it has like one specific thing the person that made the list doesn't like. So that's kind of like one of the things that really brought me into the idea of how I can properly make this video. So here's how we can start it. All right. So let's have two people to start with, and as we go further along, we can introduce more characters. Um, let's say the first person is a little kid. Let's call him Timothy. Just a very generic name. I don't know. I think like I just watched Fairly Odd Parents meme recently, so just Timmy's just off the top of my head. And just to kind of like give him some kind of like relevance to you guys, to just kind of like help people, no matter where you are in the world, to just kind of like be able to kind of like put yourselves in his shoes. I'm gonna say like this is a very small kid, say like 9 or 10 years old, something like that. Doesn't really matter. Boy or girl, again, also doesn't matter. Just a school age kid. He wakes up, eats his breakfast, takes his homework to school, um, talks with his friends at school about, like modern memes, whatever, Skibidi Ohio Riz, Sigma. Um, comes home, you know, maybe plays a game of Fortnite or whatever, and, maybe watches some YouTube, does his homework, eats his dinner, and goes to sleep. Very average kid, very normal. Also, depending on how you grow up, um, whether or not you played any kind of games once you got home from school, how much of that, is all dependent on you and your upbringing, no matter where you are in the world. Um, just kind of helping you try to imagine just a regular normal kid. Now, this kid, obviously, as most kids do, watches a lot of YouTube. So, sometimes he watches, whatever Skibidi Toilet is on YouTube, or, PewDiePie, whatever. It doesn't really matter. So let's put him on hold, and let's go over to our other character. Um, Again, just kind of like thinking of random names. Just the most basic name I can think of right now. Let's call him Jonathan, all right? And just to kind of like help me kind of like better create this character, I'm gonna say he's more of a Midwestern folk, all right? So he's kind of like, I don't know, like what's the things in like Springfield and South Park, where is it? Like Colorado or stuff like that. Um, and let's say that Jonathan is a YouTuber, not a very big one, like maybe 10 to 15,000 subscribers. So pretty small, but like, like he's growing, he's kind of like making his stuff. Um, but for the sake of this kind of like philosophical thing, honestly, like, it doesn't exactly play out like this in real life. But let's say his subscriber count of 10,000 people, 100% of them are extremely loyal to him. That means that if Jonathan looks at a video game and he says, this video game is woke, do not buy this game, that is 10,000 people that might have bought the game, but will definitely not buy the game specifically because Jonathan said so. And just to kind of like not make it too political, we can also do kind of like alternate universes of Jonathan, where we can say like woke Jonathan, where he's like, oh hey, this game has like um, equality of characters. It has boy characters, female characters, gay characters, characters of like different colors and races. I don't know, like Overwatch or Concord or whatever. So it's a great game. You should definitely buy this game for these reasons. So that's 10,000 customers that the game might not have had if it wasn't for Jonathan. So I'm just kind of like trying to help you guys create this kind of like idea of this person who's very small but not insignificant, right? He has a pull. And anything this guy says has some sort of an impact, whether good or bad, on the product being made for, any kind of reason, whether it's, valid or not. Like Bud Light picture of a trans person, and then billions of dollars of loss to stock market. I'm not talking about that. This is only like 10,000. Just to kind of like bring it down a little bit, but also kind of like just to show that like Jonathan isn't really the big picture we need to look at here. So now that we created Jonathan and what kind of person Jonathan is and what kind of power Jonathan has, let's go back to, what was his name? Timmy. I was about to say Jimmy. So Timmy, again, average kid, does watch YouTube, but coincidentally, he actually is not subscribed to Jonathan. So whatever Jonathan says actually doesn't apply to Timmy because he just isn't aware of this person, right? So let's say that Jonathan sees a single, character in a video game and the character has like rainbow colored hair. So Jonathan says, "Do not buy this game." Well, Timmy doesn't care about all that, right? He comes home from school and, sees on the bus, what do you call it, on the bus, the little advertisements on the bus stop for a new game that's coming out. And as soon as he gets home, his grades are good, he's a well-behaved kid. He says, Mommy, I want this game. He doesn't care about, like the rainbow thing. Not because like he's like pro-gay or anti-gay or anything like that. It's just, in reality, for a lot of kids that age, it doesn't really matter as long, they just see like some random advertisement. They're gonna say, "Oh, I want that. It's shiny and it's a new game. It's the newest Fortnite Battle Pass item. I want it." Doesn't matter, what Jonathan says. I haven't even heard of the guy. I want this product. And because Jonathan's a well-behaved kid, he deserves, to be spoiled sometimes. Now, ultimately, it's up to Timmy's friends whether they want to play the game. His classmates, maybe some of them, maybe like, again, 10,000 is a rather small number when you consider how many people there are in the world. Let's say like one or two of his classmates have heard of, Jonathan, and they're not going to get the game. There's his classmates, some don't care for the game, some do. But just to kind of like put things into perspective, honestly, Timmy's not the only person in the world, right? There's probably millions of Timmys out there of various ages and backgrounds. There's a girl Timmy, let's call her like, I don't know, Susan. This is a stupid name. I don't know if there's any kids named Susan these days. I don't know, there's a Timmy in India, there's a Timmy in Afghanistan, there's a Timmy in Russia, in South America, in fucking Montreal, and Paris, and London, and Africa. I don't know, wherever kids have internet access and are able to play the game. So just to put it in perspective, the reason I'm kind of like bringing this up is because a lot of people seem to focus too much on what Jonathan says, and Jonathan isn't the only person in the world, right? Who's an influencer, an actual influencer who's able to influence whether or not people buy a certain product. End of the day, no matter what Jonathan says, for good or for worse, there's millions of Timmys out there who are gonna look at a product and say, "I'm gonna buy that product," not on the virtue of whether or not their product is good or bad, but just because it's like a shiny new thing. If we forget about woke and modern kind of cultural stuff, if we think back to, what was it, like at least 10 years ago, if not more, I remember every time a new game was about to come out, all of Reddit would try to spread out information about how like, do not pre-order the game, do not pre-order the game. What would happen? People would pre-order the game, like thousands of posts with lots of like updates or whatever on Reddit, on Twitter, um, Facebook. Like it gained traction. It's on every platform. A lot of people are talking about it on all these platforms. YouTubers talk about it. Even like I don't know, maybe I don't know if it ever got on the news. But it had a lot of traction. But end of the day, no matter how many people cried and screamed, do not pre-order games. The game ends up getting like lots of like pre-orders, record sales, and then the downfall thereafter, right? Like after a few days, it turns out the product is not a complete product, right? It's glitchy. It should not have been released in the state it was, and that's why you do not buy pre-ordered games. And then rinse and repeat the year after that, and the year after that, and the game after that, and the game after that. So I'm not saying that Timmy is some sort of like a hero or a centrist. But I'm trying to kind of like help you guys understand that um, Jonathan, for all his strengths and his faults, does have an impact in the world, but not as much as you think. Remember that there's lots of Timmys out there, right? Um, a lot of incels are gonna talk about how Disney Star Wars is shit, and it's hard for me to say that it's not, right? I can try to say like, oh come on, like it's not the what's her name, Leslie Hayland or whatever her name is. I don't know. No, Kathleen Kennedy. I remember a South Park episode. Um, you know, None of that really matters. Honestly, they do have a role to play, just like they did in the thing I said about the Avatar video. Um, they say things like, if you don't like these kind of things, don't watch it. Or they're gonna say, what's that kind of viral clip that went super viral? It was like the purpose of this show is I want to make men uncomfortable, and it's like the whole reason Disney Star Wars is trying to kind of like create a more diverse audience isn't because Disney cares about diversity. It really doesn't. It's all virtual signaling for them. All they care about is dollar signs, and um, what they really want to do is just have a bigger audience, so there's more people paying for their product. Um, but obviously, they do have a hand to play in kind of like trying to take one audience while trying to sacrifice another. And as bad as those kind of clips can sound out of context, um, end of the day, like I still watched it, and all of those people who criticized it, watch it themselves. Maybe you can, tell their audience, do not watch this because it's woke and this and that. Um, but again, end of the day, remember that there's lots of Timmys out there, and no matter what me or Jonathan or Moist Critical or Critical Drinker and all these people say, like Timmy's gonna watch the show, and um, end of the day, it's really up to Timmy whether he wants to keep watching or not. Um, a lot of the shows Disney's making is hit and miss, right? So, as I said before, there are good shows being made by Disney. They're not all bad, but I just want to help you guys kind of like think of the bigger picture by kind of like creating an abstract idea of people, and maybe it can help you guys put yourselves in the shoes not just of Timmy, because I try to create this character where it's relatable to everyone, where even Jonathan kind of like can try to understand, but also for you guys to kind of like look at it from Jonathan's perspective as well. We can't always just focus on the squeakiest of wheels. Cool. thanks for watching, and I will try to shine some more light on some of the people I talked about in a video coming up. I hope rather soon I just kind of sit down and just try to kind of like make the video without losing too many brain cells. I'm sure I've done enough damage to your brain cells already, but if you watched this far, thank you. I appreciate that.